So, the Queens Offenders intro. So, everybody, my name is Alexandra Brathwaite. I am the social justice coordinator here at Queens Offenders. For those of you that don't know about Queens Offenders, it's a non for profit organization and a public defense law firm that is women led. We have two of our fantastic leaders here from Queens Offenders, our management director and the director of special projects here, Curlin Joseph, and Ms. Hetty Powell. And our executive director, Ms. Zeno, who unfortunately couldn't be here today due to other reasons. She would have loved to be here, but again, she had other priorities that she had to take care of as well. But thank you guys for being here. We totally appreciate you guys. Then the Blank Project, we also have many different programs that we have at Queens Offenders. We offer programs varying from tutoring help, housing assistance, food distributions, the Blank Project, Youth Justice Court, and so much more. So if any of you guys have more information or would like more information regarding Queens Offenders, any of our legal services that we offer with Queens Offenders, or any of our programs that we have at any of our locations, feel free to check out our website at www.queensdefenders.org. And we have a whole bunch of social media platforms such as social Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, I believe, and maybe Snapchat. I'm not too sure. But without further ado, Angela, if you don't mind, can you please introduce the Blank Project?
Good evening, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Angela Williams. I am the outreach coordinator at Queens Defenders, and I am also the co-chair of Frank, the Far Rockaway Auburn Nonprofit Coalition. The Queens Defenders Blank Project focuses on building leaders and activists in a new culture. Members of the Blank Project learn about the law, organize rallies, marches, protests, conduct workshops, bring awareness to current events and social issues, and so much more. Our team is super committed to standing with and fighting more. Our team is super committed to standing with and fighting for marginalized groups in our country. The goal is to raise our voices, to bring awareness to all issues that are arising or are not talked about. Activism is our rent for living on this planet. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miss Angela Williams. So we could just go around and see who's out there from the Blank Project. For those of you that are not out there participating in any spring break activities. Jaden, if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself? Just you could say your name, your age, what school you go to if you'd like.
Hi everyone, my name is Jaden Gab. I am 16 years old and I'm I'm a happy member of the Blank Project. It's so nice to be here and talking to everyone here.
Yes, thank you, Jaden. Let's see who else is out there. I swear I saw Giselle. I think I did. Where did Giselle go? Or maybe she clocked off. I can't see her. But oh yeah, there you go. I see you. Go ahead, Giselle.
Hello, guys. I'm Giselle Carter. I'm 20 years old and I go to Nyack College of Music. And I am a happy member also of the Blank Project. So I'm really looking forward to what we have to offer here in this conversation and to gain more knowledge about the woman, the beautiful Black woman, and different shades of women that we are. So, okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Giselle. You're so cheesy. I love it. Let me see who else. Zahara, if you don't mind, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Zahra. I am a member of the Blank Project, and I'm so thrilled to be in this meeting today.
Perfect. I'm so happy you guys are excited, just like me. So I see some of our youth corps members are also here as well. Debbie, if you don't mind, can you just introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Debbie, and I'm part of the Youth Justice Court in Canberra Heights with Miss Alex and Miss Angela. Happy to be here.
Yes. And Katasia, if you're there, can you also introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katasia Campbell. I'm also a part of the Cambria Heights Youth Court with Alex and Miss Angela. I'm just happy to be here and hear all what everyone has to say here today.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much, you guys. Again, due to spring break, we have a whole bunch of kids from the Blank Project and Youth Corps, but again, spring break, it's meant to happen that they weren't going to be here. It's fine. But moving on with programming, we have a phenomenal panelists here with us today. It is packed with powerful women from different occupations, different platforms, different voices, and different shades of Blackness. Why not? And so we have the powerful and astound Miss Hetty Powell Esquire, the Management Director at Queens Defenders. We have the fantastic and cheerful Miss Carolyn Joseph Esquire she is the Director of Special Projects at Queens Defenders. We have Miss Aaliyah Abraham, the creator of the Black Resource Network. Hey, Aaliyah, we see you over there rocking the Black merch. We see you. We have also Miss Tanisha Morrison, activist and Assemblywoman Hyman's Chief of Staff. Hey, Tanisha, it's a pleasure to see you again. Then we also have Bureau Chief Miriam Sandy Adigan. She is the Queens District Attorney Intake Bureau. My apologies. And then we have Executive ADA Colleen Babb, Bureau Chief of Community Partnerships for District Attorney's Office. And then as far as I'm concerned, we also have the fantastic council member Adrian Adams. We see you here today. We appreciate you and we love your support. And then we may, if I'm not mistaken, yes, Tanisha, you can record. I just saw your message. And we also, if I'm not mistaken, we're gonna have maybe a pop-in from Assembly Member Alicia Hyman sometime soon. So without further ado, let's get right into these questions. So right now, before the questions, matter of fact, we will, oh wait, I see your message there, Tanisha. Give me 1 second. Technical difficulties, forgive me. So before we jump into any questioning, I just remembered the programming. We want everybody from the panel to, introduce yourselves. Give us just a gist of, you have 8 minutes to tell us your story, what you've encountered, how your story has been, your journey to success, where you started, where you are now. So yes, we shall start it with the fantastic Miss Hetty Powell Esquire, if you don't mind. Your 8 minutes start now.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, fantastic members of the panel. It's good to see you. Always a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me here. I will start, as you know, some of you know, my journey started from Jamaica, West Indies. Growing up in Jamaica, West Indies, all I ever wanted to be was to be a teacher. So once I finished high school, I went to Teachers College. I spent my 18th birthday in college. And after I graduated from college, I started teaching. Then I came to the United States of America, totally different environment. My eldest sister, I had gotten accepted to go to Hunter College to continue my teacher education. And my eldest sister, who was here and had also graduated from Teachers College in Jamaica, said to me, if I'm sure I want to continue in that field, because it could be a little rough in the schools here than what I'm accustomed to. So I never continued in teaching. I went to John Jay. That was my first interaction with school in the United States of America. So I went to John Jay College to do my bachelor's degree in legal studies. I didn't have to do the full 4 years because I was already a college graduate from Jamaica. I just had to take the classes that would give me my degree in legal studies. So I graduated and magna cum laude, and I got a full scholarship into law school. After graduating from law school, I went to work as a staff attorney at the Legal Aid Society. Then in 1996, after we had a strike at the Legal Aid in 1994, so in 96, there was an RFP, and the people who submitted the RFP, Joe Vaccarino and Laurie Zena, they were successful. They invited me to come along, and I joined Queens Law Associates then as a staff attorney, and I was promoted to supervising attorney, managing attorney, and after our executive director retired, Ms. Zena was promoted to the executive director, and she promoted me to the managing director. And here I am, the managing director of Queens Law Associates. We started with about 9 people. The most attorneys that we had were 27, but now we have over 175 lawyers. And I'm proud for what I have become in my legal career, because it was brought to my attention that there were only 3 African Americans in the entire New York State in leadership position in the defense organization. And I am one of the 3 African Americans in that leadership role in the entire New York State. So I'm proud of my accomplishment, and I'm proud of what Queens Defenders have become. I'm proud of the Blank Project. And here, that's my story.
Thank you so much, Miss Hattie Powell. Moving right along, Miss Joseph, if you don't mind, now it's your turn to say your story.
Sure. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I'm gonna come in under 8 minutes also. Okay, so like Hetty, I actually was born in another country. I was born in Trinidad. I came to the United States to live with my mother when I was between like the ages of 10 and 11. So, you know, just like Hetty said, culture shock, very, very, very different. But, you know, I adapted really well, went to school. My dad had been a teacher before he became a police officer. So he instilled in me the appreciation for education. So I worked very hard at my education. My mom had a 6th grade education. She had to stop going to school because of an injury that she suffered. So there, you know, there was no help at home with homework. You know, I had to figure it out. And I had an older brother who eventually joined me here. So, you know, we would sit there and figure out the homework together as best we could. But I did the best that I could, graduated from Dominican Commercial High School. And to tell you how things were when I graduated, now Dominican Commercial was a high school that basically taught young women to become secretaries. You know, I took typing, stenography, and it was a very rare occurrence for a young lady to go to college, particularly a 4-year college, and particularly to go away to college. It was almost unheard of. But I was determined to go to college, and to me, taking all the classes like typing and stenography was a means to an end. Because I figured if I was going to go to college, I know my mom wasn't going to be able to pay for it, so I would need to work. So I needed to learn the skills so that, you know, I would be able to get a job to help put myself through college. So true story, I went to visit the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts. I wanted to go to a small Catholic school, and you know, they were ridiculously expensive, but I decided that's where I was going to go. And I decided that's where I was going to go when I was speaking to my mom about the school, and I showed her the brochure. Now, mind you, I'd never heard of them from a hole in the wall. They sent the brochure to me. I didn't even know they existed. But once I read it, I was like, oh, this is the perfect school for me. And my mom basically told me that if I went to that school, if I went away, she would not help me. And in that moment, I knew that's where I was going to school. So I went there for a visit, and I was determined to do my on-campus interview during that weekend visit because I knew I couldn't go back. And I went for the interview, and the gentleman couldn't see me. He was busy, so he told me to come back. I went back a second time. He was busy. He couldn't see me. So I went back the third time, and he was busy again, but he stepped out of the room and he said, you know what? Because you tried so hard just to do your interview, you're accepted to this school, and I'm going to make sure you have a scholarship. And he was true to his word. I got a 4-year scholarship to Holy Cross, and I most definitely went there and most definitely figured out how to pay for it pretty much on my own. Scholarships, work study, and loans, but actually not too many because I got a full scholarship. And I had the occasion to meet that gentleman about 3 years ago. I had not seen him since the day he told me I was accepted, because he left to work at another school. And we finally saw each other again. And it was pretty awesome to be able to tell him, thank you for giving me the opportunity to go to that school. Now, Holy Cross, by the way, at that time was approximately 98% white Irish Catholic. So that was also a culture shock, leaving New York City to go to a school like that. But once again, I made the best of it. I was on the track team, I did band, and I enjoyed myself and got a great education in the process. I then went to Boston College Law School. And after graduating from Boston College, even though I worked in California in the summers, I had no intention of coming back to New York. On a fluke, I put a resume into the Legal Aid Society box. Lo and behold, they only chose to interview 4 students. I was one of them. I hadn't taken criminal law. I hadn't taken criminal procedure. Said, all right, but I'll go do the interview. And lo and behold, they offered me like a second interview. And I said, look, I can't do it. I can only do it when I come home for Thanksgiving. You know, I'm sorry, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back just for an interview with you. And they said, okay, sure, no problem. But what happened that same semester is I took a trial practice class. And in that trial practice class, that's where I realized like I had a natural gift for advocacy and doing, you know, opening statements, closings, things like that. I had never done that before. I literally just walked into the class having missed like the first 2 sessions, and they were doing opening statements, and they gave me a fact pattern, and I just got up and did it. And the professor was like, that's what I'm looking for. And I realized, oh my God, I could do this. So it worked out that the resume going into the Legal Aid Society box turned out to be a godsend, because they were pretty much the only agency where I would get to do criminal defense. I would get to do it right away. I would get to interact with people on a daily basis, which is like what I really realized that I loved, having done internships in different areas of the law, and like, you know, just not being excited about being in the books all day. I like interacting with people. So it actually turned out to be the perfect job for me. So, you know, I finished the interviews with Legal Aid, and they pretty much offered me the job like when I came for Thanksgiving and did the second interview. From there, I worked with Legal Aid for 7 years. That's where I met Ms. Powell. And then I've been with Queens Defenders ever since. What I like about working at Queens Defenders is, even though I was trained to be a criminal defense attorney, I've used it as an opportunity to also learn different areas of the law. So for example, when they opened a new part where they did the family court cases, like custody, visitation, paternity, in addition to the criminal cases, I volunteered for that part and learned how to do all those different areas of family law. And what I'm doing right now is I am over in our new Jamaica office, and I am representing young people who are charged with juvenile delinquency cases. So pursuant to the Raise the Age law, when they started sending this adolescents, 16 and 17 years old, over to family court, I then took on the task of learning how to represent the young people in family court. So while the criminal law is the same, the procedure is completely different. The rules are different. So as you can see, I like a challenge. I like to take it on and, you know, do the best that I can with it. And as a result of us being here, we've now received the contract to pick up even more cases than when we first got here 2 years ago. So, you know, we're doing pretty well. Additionally, in my role as Director of Special Projects, a lot of our community outreach efforts. At some point, I was able to help start our youth court program. I helped start and used to be the person who went every day to every Thursday to Far Rockaway No matter what the weather, rain or shine, I was there every Thursday doing youth court. And when it expanded, there, up to last year with COVID, I was going back and forth to at least 2 of the programs. We now have the program in about 4 libraries and 3 high schools. Our outreach center, once our outreach center opened, I helped organize that, helped get it going, made the connections in the community, etc. I could go on, but I think I'm close to my time being up. So thank you all for having me, and I'm honored to be on this esteemed panel.
Thank you so much, Ms. Joseph. And the next person to go for their little autobiography is Miss Aaliyah Abraham, from the creator of the Black Resource Network.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Aaliyah Abraham. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for this question. I haven't gone through this timeline in a while, so we're going to do it together. Yes, my name is Aaliyah Abraham. I'm a lifelong Southeast Queens resident. I'm married. I have a little boy, so I'm excited to talk to some young people today. I started my career as a performing artist. Most people don't know that. And, so I was singing and studio stuff and touring and things like that. I didn't go to college right away out of high school. But there was one day that I was just like, all right, so I'm doing all this singing. I'm doing all this stuff. What more can I learn and make this better, or try to make some real money out of this? So I did decide to go to school to be a music major. So I went to Queensborough Community College. And one thing college is great for is networking. I was able to meet just all new people who were doing the same things. And these schools got budgets, and they gave us money to do our own shows and start our own clubs and buy equipment. So I really learned there just how to put together events and how to work with people. And it's a great space for like-minded people to work. So I did that for a while, and I continued my career as a performing artist. But then came a time I wanted to do some more learning. So I said, okay, how can I get into the business of music? So I went back to school again and took a program at Queens College in intellectual property. And by then I kind of calmed down with doing the performing artist thing. I wanted to go in a different direction, which was okay. You take the things you learn and you turn it into something new. So I went to Queens College. And from there, I worked for an entertainment law attorney in Manhattan, Mr. Steve Gordon. And he really taught me how to, do contracts. And I ended up doing a lot of music industry events around the business of music, around teaching other people how to do contracts and teaching other people what to look for in marketing and things like that. So I learned a lot of those skills. And I transitioned into doing marketing and events for myself and my friends who were performing artists and other businesses and other projects. Time went on again. And I decided to start an organization called Prototype Music. So what Prototype Music is, it's for young people in Queens, New York. We mentor them, we coach them, we help them write music, develop them, and then we provide them with platforms to, perform on a larger scale, something a little more elevated than, say, a recital. So we then birthed the Queens Youth Music Festival, another one of my projects, and it was very successful. We got to about 4 years of it before COVID, and we grew so much that our year 4 was at Citi Field. So we were able to bring all of these kids from our neighborhood to Citi Field to perform in front of thousands of people. And it was excellent. It was a time for parents. We'd bring back some old stars for the parents and some Nickelodeon kids for the young people. And it was just a great day of celebration. We hope to bring that back again next year after this virus kind of calms down a bit. But my most recent project, and probably the one most people on this call know me for the most, is the Black Resource Network. The Black Resource Network is a space for Black people in Queens to network and share resources through health and wellness, financial literacy, small business support, civic engagement, and anything else our members decide is an issue that they want to solve together. We organize the people and help solve that problem. Our following now is about 14,000 residents in Queens, and we hope to grow from there and be able to help people meet each other more and solve problems together as a community. And then next for myself, I'd like to move into a space to be an entrepreneur and to open some businesses in my community with the people that I've met and the resources that I have and the knowledge that I've learned through my various years and diverse projects. So hopefully the next time we talk, I'll be a business owner. And that's me. That's me in a nutshell. Again, thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm looking forward to learning from these panelists myself, because you can learn at any age.
Definitely. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Aaliyah, for being here.
No
It's
problem.
truly a pleasure anytime being in your presence.
Sure.
Miss Tanisha Morrison, you're up, buddy.
Hello, everyone. And I just want to thank the Queen's Blank Project for having me again. And I just want you to know Assemblywoman Hyman would be here, but she is in Albany on the floor as she moves into her new role as Assistant Majority Leader. And as budget is due in literally a day, basically, because April 1st is due. So it has been a crazy day. Trying to solidify this budget, trying to solidify policy. She is literally in the chamber right now, but she sends her love. And I just wanted to make sure I said that first before I got into who I am. So my name is Tanisha. I am the Chief of Staff to Assemblywoman Alicia Hyman of District 29 Queens. And I think, and I was just listening to these amazing women who went after me. It's so hard always like to talk about yourself, especially because I think it's clear to all of us that a lot of the work that we do, we cannot do alone. So when people say like, tell me about yourself, I always feel like I'm talking about everybody else who got me here because they're just like a really, really big part of the story. So with that being said, I think, I grew up in a home full of service workers and servant leaders. My grandfather, his name is James 67X. He was a chief aide to Malcolm X. And my grandmother, who he was married to during the late 1960s teacher strikes, she decided to start her own Black-owned private school, one of the first ever here in the city of New York, called Cush Campus Schools, right in the heart of Crown Heights, Brooklyn. She started with her 5 children in her home, and it continued to grow and grow because this big Black community wanted Black representation, and that's actually what the teacher strike was about. So my grandmother saw a void and she filled it. My grandfather saw a void and he decided to fill it. And I think literally that's just what my life's work has been around, right? Like seeing a void and finding my best to be a part of filling it, not just in the name of productivity, but more the name of impact, right? Because like that's how we should define success. So I went to my grandmother's Black-owned private school up until the 8th grade, started first grade at 2, went to high school at 12 years old. And I think at 12 was when I really, really first saw like what servant leader work meant for me. I applied randomly to a nonprofit organization that was based specifically on women called the Sadie Nash Leadership Project. And I was the youngest contestant that they ever took. You had to be 13 and above. I was literally turned 12 in that November and said, I'm still want to do this thing. And they met me and said, Tanisha, you're in. And in there, I learned what it meant to cultivate sistership, right, and sisterhood. I also learned how to use my voice and not, silence myself and dim my light. And the Sadie Nash Leadership Project was really big for me there. One of the first projects I ever did with them this is at a time when Teen Vogue only had white women on the face of it. And, this is what I mean by having people who support you. I said, I want to go protest it. And the Sadie Nash Leadership Project says, so we out. And did everything they could to help me, go protest Teen Vogue. I mean, right in the front of it with shirts on that were just diverse in nature, demanding to have a meeting with the CEO around what it looks like for my Black face to be a part of what Teen Vogue represented. And then from there, I realized that I was supported in advocacy. I went on to lead a few protests in my school because I went to the High School of Fashion Industries, which was in Manhattan. I'm a Southside Jamaica Queens girl. So that meant I lived in a 2-fare zone, which meant I had to take a bus to the train to get all the way into Manhattan at 12. So with that being said, they tried to put metal detectors in our schools. They tried to take our phones. I was a fashion design major, and I staged my first protest and was so surprised that it worked. So surprised that we ended up not getting metal detectors. keeping my phone. And I think that's when I knew in my heart that my life was surrounded by making sure that I was advocating for the voiceless. I went on to have an uncle who is now a former assemblyman of that same community that that Black-owned school was in. And at 15, I slapped a proposal in his face and said, I want to go work at Madison Square Garden because Black people are selling out the garden. Jay-Z goes there and I give him all my money. Every high school game, I'm giving him all my money. It don't make no sense that, you know, Madison Square Garden does not do anything for the Black community. And he said, you know what? Okay, let me see if I can get you a meeting with their government relations. And after the meeting, this Black woman said, don't go work for them. Come work for me. I am a Black-owned lobbying firm. Let me come teach you what it looks like to be able to advocate and tell these white men what to do. And I said, say less. That sounds like the space I want to intern. And turn it from an internship to a job where I was able to get scholarships to attend St. John's University, work at this lobbying firm, work on behalf of Sadie Nash, and continue my advocacy work. And yeah, I mean, the story from there is me continuing to create spaces where I saw voids. I curated art exhibits through my nonprofit called Voice, VOYCE, which stands for The Voice of Youth Changes Everything Incorporated. I ended up curating the Black Lives Matter mural that is on Jamaica Avenue. You know, I worked with my current job, and which is one reason I love my current job so much, is that it allows me to bring myself and the work that I love to my community. So I was able to curate a community fridge within that community, help make Juneteenth a state holiday in the state of New York, and just continue to be in places and in spaces where I can lift as I climb, like people did for me. So just, I want to thank you all again for being here. And I'm just like really excited to hear all these amazing women's stories, because from what I've heard so far, I'm just in the presence of greatness. So thank you for having me, Blank Project. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this panel.
Thank you so much, Ms. Morrison. That was amazing. But I didn't even know that you were one of the curators for the Black Lives Matter mural. See,
I am the only curator. Yeah.
Well, that's even better. I just see, look, you learn something new every day, literally.
Thank you.
But it's a pleasure. The next person that is up for their introduction is Bureau Chief, Miss Miriam Saniatigan. The floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Blank Project, for inviting me to speak. I am just in awe with all of the women that are on this platform tonight. I've been sitting here trying to think about how do I explain what my career path is, because truly, I just think that I have been blessed to be given opportunities that I sometimes didn't really think about. So first and foremost, I come by way of Brooklyn, New York. From Nigeria. My parents are from Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm a first generation American. I lived and grew up in East New York and went to Clara Barton High School, which is for nursing, although I had no desire to be a nurse. I just got a scholarship to go there to be in an honor program. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna go. And while there, I had the opportunity to become the president of the student body and start interacting with the police department. And from there, I decided that, okay, I wanted to be an attorney. I felt as if that being an attorney would allow me to help people that look like me when they don't have representation that understands where they're from. So with that in mind, I then decided I was going to go to, in my mind at least, my plan was I'm going to go to a state school so that way when it's time for me to get to law school, I won't have a whole bunch of debt and I can go to like this really big law school and then become like this famous attorney. So I went to SUNY New Paltz, and from there, I again just started working on advocacy and realizing that SUNY New Paltz, of course, was predominantly white, and there weren't that many things that kind of catered to what I was interested in. There wasn't a dance team, there wasn't a women's group for women of color, and so I started those things. And then after that, I had the opportunity when I graduated college to work with a judge, and it was working with this judge that I realized that it wasn't that I was going to be an attorney and be a defense attorney. I decided I was going to become a prosecutor because I felt like I needed to be in the room. The place that I thought that I can make the most change was being at the office that was going to determine who was going to be charged and with what crime they were going to be charged. And I felt like there needed to be a voice that would be able to hear that. So I became a prosecutor in the Bronx. And while I was working in the Bronx, I did child abuse and domestic violence cases. And then after doing that for a number of years, I decided I wanted to go more federal and deal with people who needed help fighting against the government to get benefits. And so I went to Dallas, Texas. I did that for a couple of years. And then I had a child that got married, and that job required me to travel throughout the country. And so I needed a job that was going to allow me to stay put, but still do something that required that I would be helping people or making change. And I got the opportunity to then now clerk for a judge. So then I came back to New York and started working with the Honorable Michelle Johnson, who became the supervising judge. And in that position, I became the first African-American supervising court attorney in Queens. And I did that for 5 years. And while I was working there, I got the pleasure of being interviewed by our current district attorney, Melinda Katz, and she hired me to become her bureau chief for the intake bureau, where now I, funny enough, have the opportunity to be the person responsible for what charges are brought in Queens County against people who are arrested in our county. And that's my story.
Perfect. So it was so, I loved it. It was so nice, straight to the point. I loved it all, I promise. And not for nothing, that is so interesting. The fact that you actually are in that role, you know, ironically enough, everything that you just said, it's like, boom, this was where your path needed you to be. This is exactly that, the yellow brick road, it leaded you to be where you are today. That's perfect. Perfect. It couldn't have been any other way. And then last but not least, the Miss Chief of, I don't want to butcher this title now, Bureau Chief of Community Partnerships for the District Attorney's Office, Executive ADA, Colleen Babb. The floor is yours.
Good evening, good evening. You gave me like 4 titles in one, so I'm gonna take all of them. Good evening, thanks for having me this evening. Thanks for welcoming me back. It's a pleasure to be here and be a part of this panel with all these distinguished panelists. My name is Colleen Babb. I'm the Executive ADA of Community Partnerships, which means I'm responsible for the Community Partnership Division, which includes youth empowerment, civic awareness, community engagement, and reentry. And just by way of background, I'm a Queens girl. I come from a big family. There's 10 of us. I have 7 brothers and 2 sisters. So that's my village. I went to public school in Queens. After that, I was gonna go, when I graduated from high school, I was gonna go into the military. And a college advisor was like, absolutely not. You are not going to the military, because I used to play sports. And so he said, you're going to college. And I was like, okay. And so I wind up, he convinced me why I should go to the University of South Carolina, which was in Columbia, South Carolina. He said, my cousin is an advisor there, and we'll make sure you're okay, blah, 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 blah. Of course, everything went wrong, and that was a nightmare. But when you have a situation, that was my first time out of New York, I'm in South Carolina, and it was a culture shock. And it was an opportunity to make lemons out of lemonade and grow up real fast. So I stayed there 2 years. I know I didn't want to continue to be down there, but I stayed there and got my associates, and I transferred from the University of South Carolina to SUNY Albany with my associates, because that way I knew all my credits would transfer and I could still graduate in 4 years. So I went to SUNY Albany. My major had always been criminal justice, because I had always been fascinated with the law and criminal justice. And I saw myself sort of being a police officer or parole officer or something in that capacity. And so when I got my degree, it was ironic that because I had transferred, I was a junior coming in, but I was in the freshman dorm. So I was hanging out with some other friends of mine, and they were in this, it was called EOP program way back when, which you had tutoring services and all kind of benefits. And they were struggling with certain classes and I was helping them as, you know, friend to friend. And one of them said, I don't know why you don't become a tutor, because we understand you better than the people, than our tutors that are hired to teach us. And so they said, you should become a tutor. So I went and I saw the director of the program, and I ultimately became a tutor. And so when it came time to graduate, she said, what's next? And I said, a job, pay back these loans, and start to make some money. And so go back home to New York, all of those things. And she said, no, you should go to law school. And I was like, more school? And so she's like, just go and talk to this law professor I know there. So I went to not Albany, I went to Albany Law, which was up the street. And so I started talking to a law professor, and long story short, I wound up in Albany Law. I still had a fascination with criminal law and public service. So prosecution was just something that I wanted to do because I wanted to be a part of service and giving back. I had graduated, stayed in Albany for a little while, then was able to get a job offer at the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office. I was there for 24 and a half years, had a whole lot of different positions, but for the bulk of the time, I was responsible for the School Advocacy Bureau. And so we had a bunch of responsibilities, but the best part of my job was I was able to go to schools and talk to young people about choices and consequences and peer pressure and the people you hang with and the situations you put yourself in, and to get young people to start thinking. And so that was an opportunity to open up a lot of doors for some young people just to be cognizant of what they wanted to do in their future. So after doing that, I got my next offer was to be the Queensborough Chief of Family Court. And so I was in charge of family court. I was responsible for juvenile delinquency and interstate child support. And I did that for 16 months. And Melinda Katz won the election, became the district attorney. She and I met, and she said, I want you to come and just run community partnerships. And it was a great opportunity. I believed in her vision because she was a progressive prosecutor in terms of thinking about mentoring young people and just presenting to the county and to communities that prosecution is more than law enforcement. It's about being a part of the community and looking at options. And so that is how I got here.
What an amazing story. And thank you so much for supporting the Blank Project and everything that you have to offer. So we're going to jump right into the questions for our panelists. So I believe everybody, forgive me, I believe everybody has the questions and has prepped for the questions. So we're going to go straight down the line, okay? So the first question that is open to the panelists is, what is one word that perfectly explains who you are as a person? This question goes to Miss Hetty Powell, Miss Morrison, and Miss Colleen Babb.
My one word, independent.
Ooh, radical.
Resilient.
Boom. And then the next question is for Miss Joseph, Miss Cindy Adigan, and I believe that's it for this question. The question is, what are some stereotypes that you have heard that really affected you? Either one can go first.
So that Black women are angry. That's the one thing that always like kind of gets underneath my skin. especially being a female and an attorney, because when you speak up for yourself, it seems as if sometimes it can be perceived as if you're being angry or forceful when it's only you just speaking what's absolutely correct, or, you know, just kind of being an advocate.
Ms. Joseph?
Sure. I think like what struck me once again is that, especially when I started, there weren't that many Black attorneys, and so it was almost like there was one way to be an attorney, which was to be a white male, loud, gregarious, you know, like that, and that wasn't my style at all. My style tended to be a lot more low key, but nonetheless effective. And so I think, you know, just, you know, putting people in a box, like, you know, in order to be successful, you can only be this way. And I think the great thing about being an attorney is you do have a lot of independence, and you do get to develop your own approach and your own style and your own way that is just as effective as any other. So I think that's one of the stereotypes, is that, you know, you could only be loud, bombastic. That was the only way to be effective as an attorney.
Jaden, you want to ask the next question?
Oh, I thought there was one more person, Miss Adams. Okay. What is the biggest struggle or obstacle you face as a woman? And this question goes to Miss Abraham and Miss Adams.
Sure. This is an easy one. The biggest challenge I've faced as a woman, specifically in leadership, is me, right? And just accepting my position and shift my own thinking. A lot of times as women, we weren't even taught that we can be leaders. So even if you give us the title and you give us the job, we still don't believe that we can do it. You know, there's this new word out, imposter syndrome, and thinking that you're not good enough and stepping on your own toes, standing in your own way. And a lot of times you're put in situations where you have to make decisions for your team, but you compromise with someone else, sometimes a man, someone else, just to feel like, you know, well, it's still us. No, you're the leader, and trust yourself and trust that you can do this. And I think that's a challenge that I'm still facing, and I know others are. So it's really just accepting your role as a leader, regardless of representation, because we don't always have those examples.
Thank you. And one more question. Who is your shiro, or who do you look up to? And this can go to Miss Powell and Miss Joseph.
I can go first. I thought a lot about this question, actually. And I'll say that I was greatly inspired by my mother. I said before that, you know, she had to stop going to school when she was in the 6th grade. But I watched her work and take great pride in supporting her children and making sure that we had the best of everything, and also saw her become a union delegate at her job, and she represented her coworkers who were mostly single mothers, like, you know, like she was. And she would fight really hard to make sure that they saved their jobs. And I used to help her, actually. I would do the interviews over the phone, and she would go argue the case. And I would write up the report because she didn't feel comfortable like writing up the reports. I would do that for her, and she would argue the case. So she was my inspiration. But in terms of a shiro or a hero, quite frankly, I would say that I am the hero in my story, because this is just my opinion. Like, if I'm looking up to someone else, or worshiping someone else, then I'm not doing what I need to do. So I think the fact that, you know, I continue to fight the fight every day And there are times where I get knocked down and I've got to pick myself up and put on my superhero cape and keep going, regardless of what the obstacles, regardless of, you know, who's saying, no, this, you can't do this. No, you can't have a family court practice. No, you can't do youth court. No, you know, no, 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 but to still fight, because I know that the community will benefit from, you know, the work that our organization is doing and the work that I'm doing. I think I would say that I'm the hero because I'm the one who's on the court, engaged in the battle every day. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna prevail.
Hi. My hero, or where I get my drive from, is taken from a variety of people. Some of them in my life and some of them who I read about and was inspired by them. First, my family in Jamaica, my parents, who taught me that I can be anything that I want to be if I work hard. And I studied, I could be great. The principal for my primary school, I still see her every single day in my life, who pushed us. We never felt less than. She said that we had the ability, we could do well, and she looked out for us. Coming to the United States of America, it was a culture shock. It was to now live in this United States that I really did not understand, facing a lot more obstacles. I never had these obstacles in Jamaica, but I'm faced with it, how to survive, how to be what you want to be. Yes, I was college educated and I went to college, but I had to toughen up. So I took something from Shirley Chisholm on Boston Unbought and Fighting Shirley. You know, you have to speak up, outspoken. So I use that to embody myself, that I have to speak up for myself. I'm not gonna let anybody push me around. I took the determination from Dorothy Height, who, when she went to college, to Columbia, with her acceptance letter, they told her they had the 2 Negroes that they needed already. She didn't use that she didn't let that deter her. She took it straight to NYU and got accepted in there. And also, that's determination, and that's the determination that I have, and that's the determination that I keep on using, and that was what was embedded in me. I also look at my fellow countrywoman, Una Clark, who was an educator and thick Jamaican accent like me, and she came here as an educator, and she continued to be an early childhood educator, ran for city council, won, and has been and was a great advocate with over 300 pieces of legislation during her tenure. So with me as a fighter, as an outspoken advocate, I advocate for those who are less fortunate than myself. I fight for criminal justice all the time in the work that I do. I encourage the attorneys, and I fight for my own survival. As Curlin says, every single day is a struggle. The struggle has not stopped for me because I'm the managing director of this law firm. It does not stop there. I have to struggle every day to let people know that I earn this position. It was not just handed to me. I worked hard for it, and I am capable. As Aaliyah says, I will never go back to that, to go into an imposter mode that I am not worthy. I am not. I am worthy of this position. And therefore, as an outspoken advocate, as a determined woman, I will continue to fight. So that's where those are the heroes that I look up to in my life. Those are the women like yourself who fight and struggle every single day. For the Blank Project, a young woman who is leading this organization, I look up to you. I look up to the people who are doing the work in the community, because you see, you can have any title in the world and sit back, but if you don't come out and help others, you don't close the door behind you, you open it for others to come through. So you are all my heroes and sheroes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I loved it. It's you gave me chills, Miss Powell. Oh my goodness. I tilt my hat to you, Miss Powell. That was amazing, literally. Fantastic. And then the next question will go to Miss Seniatigan and Miss Morrison. Did you always know that this was the career path you wanted to be in?
Ms. Morrison, do you mind if I go? Okay. Funny enough, yes and no, right? Because as I said, I knew that I wanted to be a prosecutor, and that was always going to be my determination and my goal. And I knew that I wanted to help people of color while going through the criminal justice system. But I did not know that I would be sitting as a bureau chief in a prosecutor's office. That was not in mind. And I'm grateful, to be completely honest. I think for me, it's always about whatever opportunities are there that's going to mean that I'm going to be able to give back and help someone, that I'm always looking for and trying to participate in. And this opportunity now is something new, it's refreshing, and I think it's overdue, and I'm happy to be sitting in it.
Thank you, Miss Seniatigan. Miss Morrison, you're up.
I didn't know that this was my path. I think others saw that. I didn't specifically. I was a dancer. I love the arts, and government and those things never actually go together. Just like service really don't always go together. Especially, you know, well, I was growing up, it was pick a lane. That's, you know, your box was the box. So in my head, if I had to choose, I was a dance and curating art machine. So I definitely kind of pushed away from service because of that. And then I guess when it got to a point where I realized like those boxes were invisible and actually didn't exist, and found ways to mesh them, then yes, I realized like, oh, I can do all the things. Right. Okay, cool. So yes. So no, it wasn't for me always a path, but I do believe the people around me always saw that in the path. It wasn't until I could break those ceilings and boxes that existed for myself did I realize that they can coexist.
Thank you so much. The next question goes to Miss Aaliyah Abraham, and again, Miss Morrison. What is the most exciting thing about your job or what you do?
For sure. So the most exciting part about my job is probably the range of issues and industries I get the opportunity to learn about. So in my group, in any day, we could be talking about, you know, sanitation, or how to get some grants for some community projects, or where you go and vote, or, you know, just a number of things that I really didn't know when I got into it, but I get the opportunity to learn about, you know. So in my group, people kind of think that I'm the expert on all of these different topics and conversations that come up, but I'm not. I know what I'm good at. I'm good at organizing people. I'm good at organizing events. And then I get to learn from each of those different areas. You know, the process of reading and asking questions are very fulfilling to me, and I get to share that knowledge with everyone. So that's my favorite part, that I get the opportunity to learn about anything and everything on any day.
I would say pre-COVID, I loved everything. Pre-COVID, the best part of the job was literally everything. Talking to people, helping people, radically just like pushing the status quo of what state government looks like and how it's supposed to work and how we're supposed to communicate, all those things. And then COVID happened, and I think those things became super overwhelming and just like a lot. And I had to question if I love those things anymore. But I think now the best part of the job is meeting people and being able to engage with people and talk to people who don't believe the same things I do, or feel the same way I do, because I feel like that is the place that at least my best learning and discourse comes from. So I think I look forward to pain points more than I do the good stuff now. I know that probably is the exact opposite of what many people probably believe, but pain points is where the fun lives for me now. The challenge lives for me. Let me not say the fun, because it ain't always fun. But yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Morrison. The next question goes to Ms. Saniatigan. What makes you most proud of yourself?
You know, I've been thinking about that question all day, because I never think of myself in a manner of which I say, oh, I'm proud of myself. I think I'm sometimes my worst critic, and I'm constantly thinking of how can I do better, what I should do to be better, and how I can make a better impact for people that look like me, people who are around me, and ensuring that I'm being a better human. So if I think about it, I think what I would say, what I'm most proud of is the fact that I'm consistently determined. I'm never one that's going to stop. I allow myself to continually be driven, and I'm constantly reflecting on what my actions were and how I could have done better, or how I could have helped or been more insightful. And I at least can appreciate that about myself.
Thank you so much, Ms. Saniatigan. The next question goes to Ms. Joseph, and again, Ms. Saniatigan. How would you advance the field that you're in? What are some things you would do to make it better for women? Feel free to, don't talk all at the same time.
Okay, I'll go since Miriam won't. I think the thing to make it better for women is to create the opportunities. So, to allow for young women to be involved with any one of the programs that our office sponsors. And in addition to that, because I think, like, for example, like our youth court programs, a lot of the young women come in, they're often shy, laid back, not comfortable speaking out loud in front of a group. And through the process of learning and doing the program, I think a lot of the young women find their voice. And not only do they find their voice, they excel, and they realize how talented they are, how good they are. And a lot of times, especially in the high school, even if like they don't have the best grades, just finding something where they're able to see that they're good at it, and that they enjoy it, and just how excellent they are, then that propels them forward. It gives them the confidence to then pursue the things that they wanted but didn't think were possible. So I think it's just giving young women opportunities. For example, in our office, especially this office right here in Jamaica, we take on interns in the summer, and all during the school year, from different law schools and even from my undergrad. And we just give the young women an opportunity to come in and learn and see what it takes, to be a lawyer or to be involved in the community. So it's basically just creating opportunities, is what I would say.
For me, I echo everything that Ms. Joseph said. And for me personally, it's also just being available and transparent. I think a lot of times people perceive certain careers as if you have to have a certain pedigree in order to do such. And, you know, for me, I know initially I thought when I was becoming an attorney that, oh, you had to go to an Ivy League school or you had to have some connections with politics. And I didn't have any of those. You know, like I told you all, my parents were immigrants coming into this country. And so they were working 3 jobs while I was living with someone else, but they can make it. And I was just going to try to do whatever I could do and figure it out with their help and their guidance. And, you know, my story is a little different because I also went into the military. I've also been someone who was arrested, and I don't hide that because I want people to know that you can be arrested, but that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. And that doesn't mean that you can't succeed or you can't get into law enforcement. And I use my own stories as an example that there are many ways to be successful and go into these career paths that people have certain perceptions of, and you don't have to fill those perceptions as long as you believe in yourself and your dream and are honest about what your drive is and that your passion, and it can be done. And so I think that's how, for me, I want to help and continue to advance women in this career.
Thank you so much, you guys. The next question goes.
I'm sorry, I want to jump in there too. I think and it's what a lot of us are doing right here is just being a good example for women and sharing your success. I think a lot of times we're like, oh, I don't want to brag. I don't want to, no, tell it so people know that it's possible. So talking about our story and being good examples of what success looks like is great for young people. It's great for each other. I've learned so much on this panel. So, you know, just thank you again to Queens Defenders for providing opportunities that we're able to share the good things that we're doing. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to jump in with that.
No, don't be sorry at all. That was great. Thank you so much, Aaliyah, for that. It's funny because the next question is actually for you. The next question is, what mistakes have you made in your career? This question goes to Miss Aaliyah Abraham, Miss Hetty Powell. Yeah, just those two. So feel free.
Sure. So I'd say the mistake and something that I'm still working on, but I've gotten so much better than before, is that I told this big long story about I did all these things, I met all of these people, I traveled all over, and I didn't understand the concept of following up with them and the people that you meet. A lot of times we think if we can't professionally use your service or your contact right now that we just drop it, and then people forget about you. So it's important to follow up with your contacts. You meet people. We're meeting each other here today. Young people, you're talking to someone. If you see someone here that stands out to you, that has some knowledge that you want to learn more about, a path that you want to follow, reach out to them. I a lot of times I think back about people, especially because you have social media now, you see them online working on these projects that you want to be a part of. It's like, well, how do I reach out now? I met them a year ago. I should have kept in contact. So follow up was a mistake that I've made in my career, that I've met amazing people and I didn't follow up and I missed out on opportunities. But I've learned from that, and hopefully someone else here can learn from that. So we should all be getting emails after this, young people on this call, right?
Ms. Powell?
I don't know how to say it because I don't know if it's mistakes, because I have planned and I have lived accordingly and I have done the things that I want to do. But there are some things that I could have done a little better. I am really a community person. I do a lot of stuff within the community with the young people, but I believe that I could have, one of the things that I kind of, is that I did not reach out to a more diversified community. I did not reach out to more of the people within the community that were experiencing some difficulties that I could help. I concentrated in one area. When I say not necessarily in one area, but I felt that I could have broadened my horizon. I could have joined more partnerships with people in different communities. Since I was doing the same thing in one community, it would not have hurt to form other partnerships in different areas so we could work together as partners. And when you work together as partners, you learn more, you can help more people, and I believe you become more effective. So that's one of the regrets that I have, one of the things that I believe that I should have done more. After a while, I started going to various communities to do some work, but if I had started 30 years ago with those partnerships, I do believe I would have touched many more people. So that's one of my regrets.
And thank you, everybody. So right now at this time, we're going to open the floor up to our panelists, also to our audience. If you guys have any questions that you guys would like to ask one another, please utilize the raise your hand. Okay, wow, that was fast. Please utilize the raise your hand function that we have here on Zoom. That way you can just go in order. And I just call on you and then you ask your question, and make sure you have a question that is directed to a specific person. Because if we ask everybody, I mean, there's a lot of panelists. I'm just saying. So the first person that we have here is Zahara. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes. So hi everyone. My question is towards Tunisia. Am I pronouncing your name right? Okay. So I know you brought up how you thought it would be hard to continue your career off when you were interested in the arts, but you were also really passionate about your activism. And I feel like I'm sort of in the same situation where I feel like my passion for the arts and design, because I'm currently studying marketing design, but I did want to go to FIT for fashion design. Unfortunately, I didn't get accepted, but I'm also super passionate about activism. And I even tried to minor in poli-sci, but unfortunately I have no more time left in my school years to do it. But how do you, like, what kind of advice do you have for a person like me who's trying to do what you're doing, but like, where do I keep that balance? Because everyone keeps telling us, focus on one thing. How do I do all of it?
Girl, that's a function of white supremacy, and it's a lie. And it took me a really long time to realize that. Like telling someone or making people feel like they have to pick and choose what matters to them and what they are part of and how they show up in it, honestly, to me, is a product of white supremacy. And I say that because we know what crabs in a barrel means. We know that, they've always told us that only one of us can succeed in a space. And that's the reason I feel like it's a product of white supremacy, because who said you only have to do one, right? Besides people who only want you to do one. So with that being said, I don't have advice, but I have offers. And my offer to you is to find the places that those blend for you, right? Like when we think of civil rights movements and pre-civil rights movement, we can't go throughout activism without thinking about songs in spaces that help move those things forward, right? We have to think about Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit, right? We have to think about Sam Cooke. We have to think about how Muhammad Ali used his art, which it was a sport, but it was still his art, right, as a space to continue to talk through injustice. So with that being said, it's not like it hasn't happened, and it's not like it doesn't exist. So my offer to you would be finding spaces where they blend, right? And I don't know exactly what art it is that you're into, what you do, but let's say, your form of activism was utilizing your art. If you were a painter, right, making something that lends to that space. If you were a dancer, right, making a piece and posting it that lends to how you feel through movement, right? Because literally, if you think about dance and movement, they are the same thing. You have to move to dance, right? Who said dance wasn't in the movement? So that being said, my offer is to find spaces where you can blend them, but also being okay when they're apart, right? Like if you're going to a protest and you are an artist who wants to make something that lends to like whatever that protest is about, like do that, post that, share that, like if it impacts you, it impacts them. If you are a singer, and you are a lyricist, writing things that lend to that space and also sharing it with the world, you just never know how you impact people through that. So I think just finding the spaces where they blend with for you, but also being okay where they don't, because sometimes they're not. And again, you don't have to pick. So also finding clubs and spaces that are doing both, maybe, like I had a friend who just did a mural in downtown Brooklyn for a organization called Clean Slate around, around perpetual punishment, right? Coming out of prison and feeling like he was still living a sentence. So he found an artist that he loved, though he was the activist and she was the artist, to paint that mural for him, right? But like, can we say that that muralist work was not actually a part of this movement? Right? We can't, right? Because like what she did and what she created then had people walk past it and feel something. And that's really what this is about. So yeah, so my offer to you is just, being okay where they blend and being okay where they don't. And literally letting whatever you love like work through you, no matter how then it is in the world. Because like, you're not doing it for judgment. You're not doing it for shares and posts and likes. Like you're doing it for what you feel and what it is that you have in your heart that you want to give. So do that with love. And then the way that it exists in the world, God bless it.
Thank you so much. That was like a really insightful answer. I really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime.
Jaden, you're next.
Hi, everyone. My question is directed to Miss Joseph, Miss Powell, and Miss Mensani Adigun. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Many of your stories were talking about culture shocks. I myself has experienced culture shock when I moved here when I was 10 years old. I was born here, raised in Belize. And I feel like your stories, let me move on. How did you handle that at a young age? Because it's hard coming to a new country and kind of starting all over again. So how did you handle that?
I'm gonna start.
Okay.
Sorry, Hetty. No, you can go. I'm sorry. Go. Okay. So Jaden, for me, I'm a little different because I actually was born here. But my parents were not from here. So I struggled a lot with trying to merge what my parents were teaching me at home culturally, which was different from what I was seeing and experiencing being an American. And it was hard. I was called the African booty scratcher. I was, any name in the book you can think of, I was. And in the beginning, I tried to hide that I was African. And then what I ended up doing was at some point, I just decided that I needed to embrace that identity and realize that that was what was going to make me become successful and not a statistic. It's when I decided that I wanted to separate from the group and, be my own person and not just blend in. I wanted to be that star. Like my parents would always be like, shine your eyes and let your star be bright. And I realized that, you know what? It's not bad to be different. It's not bad to have a different cultural value, because those cultural values are what's going to help carry me when I need it most. It's those cultural values that are going to help me, be steadfast in my determination when others are going to tell me I can't do it. So for me, that was what happened. It's definitely an adjustment, but you just have to be willing to say, okay, what is it that they're teaching me? What is it that I'm learning? What is it that my culture is bringing to me that makes me different, that makes me Jaden, that says, I'm fierce, I'm doing this, right? And being able to embrace that and build on it is what I would recommend and encourage. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I came here as an adult. So for me, it was different. I came here as a college grad, teacher. So the experiences that I have, it was just to see how they treat people with an accent, how they treat us. And I had this accent and I wanted to succeed. But what I learned is that I don't let that bother me. I knew who I am and I knew who I was at that time, and I was going to move forward. So I immersed myself in my education. I did my best and I just went on. I remembered when I was in law school and we were in this group setting. And I remember how some of those white students, how they would talk about us, people of color, and how they say that, oh, we have to have student loans and we can't get into this without these loans and those loans. And I really didn't have to go through that. But let me backtrack. One of the things that still stood out to me, I remember I went to Barnes and Nobles in Kew Gardens when I just came, and I wanted to get the LSAT book. And I saw this white man standing at the corner, and I asked him, do you know where I get these, where the books are for the examination? And he looked at me and says, what, GED? I had no idea what GED meant. I said, GED? What is that? I'm looking for LSAT. I never saw him again. He disappeared. So we face these stereotypes because of who we are or accent. But I just moved on. I worked hard and I overcame, and I had a family, a very supportive family. They were here long before I came. So, I had them to rely on. And when my first experience in school setting is in college, and I used to go at night. So then, the people who I met at night were a little bit different from the day schoolers. So because I was older and I was already an adult, set in my ways, I didn't let it bother me. I just try to find coping mechanisms.
When I came to live with my mother, that happened to be I came to live with my mom in December. In January, Roots premiered on TV. And Roots told the story of, slavery in America. Now, mind you, I came from an island. I was oblivious. I had no idea about any of it. So to say that I was shocked and floored is an understatement. The good thing, though, is the school that I went to, which is where my office is now, is literally 3 blocks from where I grew up. And my grade school, Presentation of the Blessed Virgin Mary, was very mixed. So we had white kids from Colombia, from Spain, from all over. So that obviously made the transition easier because a lot of the kids themselves were sort of in the same position. Granted, they'd been here before me, but so I didn't get a lot of flack from that. And also because the educational system in Trinidad is ahead of the United States, I was smart because I had taken a lot of those classes before. And so, I did really well in school. So that helped a lot, not having to worry about the performance. So then, I formed friendships, and there really wasn't a lot of ridiculing my accent. It just really wasn't like that, I guess, because so many of the kids sort of went through the same thing themselves. So that really wasn't an issue. And even if it was, I probably missed it because I was really determined. I was determined that I was gonna do the best that I could. And also because I had the fear of Margie in my life. Margie's my mother, okay? And she was paying tuition. And if I did not do what my best or do what I was supposed to do, I feared her more than anything in this life. So.
Thank you, all of you. Thank you, really inspiring. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. Now it's approaching 6:30 in exactly 60 seconds. So we're right on time. So without further ado, thank you, panelists. Thank you, Ms. Powell.
I had one quick question.
Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't raise your hand. That's why.
I was trying. My name is Jerome Dunbar. Some of you know me from L&M. We're doing one of the largest construction developments, and Queens Defenders has been right on top of it. I just wanted to quickly say, for every one of you here, I wish we had 100 men to honor your greatness and your success. I'm from a family of 8 girls, and I want to say this is what family looks like. I just want to quickly say, quote one of Whitney's songs, because it reminds me of each and every one of you. Never walk in anyone's footsteps, because you have never walked in anyone's footsteps. My quick question to Ms. Braithwaite is, I have a daughter who's a senior in college at Cornell. I want to show her this recording because I think this, as a dad, I'm excited about this type of abundance of resources for a young African-American woman. And so I thank each of you from my heart. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for the comment. Thank you for everything that you just said, actually. Without a doubt, I have no problem sharing the recording the moment that it's been edited and whatever little technical things we gotta do with it. But definitely, I will totally be releasing it like we did with the last one. As long as we get the clearance from our social media coordinator and some of our marketing people, it will be all yours, certainly. So I'm gonna take down your information. I believe you put it in the chat earlier. So expect an email from me sometime between, I want to say end of week. So yes, definitely.
Jerome, can you drop your info back in the chat, please?
Definitely.
I want to make sure I tell Mr. Ron Molis I said hello.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, he was actually one of the first people who taught me about development and affordable housing development. So please tell him Tanija is singing his praises.
And Miss Powell, I worked with the late, great Honorable Una Clark, and like I quoted Whitney, never walk in anyone's footsteps. Una Clark, Papa don't take no mess. She was the real deal. And I miss her. One of my mentors, miss her. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jerome. But without further ado, again, thank you to our panelists. You guys were phenomenal. Thank you, Ms. Powell. Thank you, Ms. Joseph. Thank you, Ms. Cindy Adigan. Thank you, Ms. Babb. Thank you, Ms. Abraham. Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Thank you so much to Councilmember Adrienne Adams for, popping in for a second before she has to leave. And also, if you don't mind, Ms. Morrison, please tell Ms. Assemblymember Hyman that we still appreciate her. It's funny, I saw her the other day at Sweet Treat, so
she loves Sweet Treat.
I know.
Don't say that again. She gonna be mad you telling people she got her little sweet tooth. But all good. I will let her know. You said that.
Yes. No, don't tell her that part. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, panelists, for being transparent and being willing to share your stories with, basically a whole bunch of strangers. But I mean, hey, it's 2021. Why not, right? I mean, we're all virtual anyway. Thank you so much for breaking barriers as Black women in society. You guys are Black excellence, literally in the flesh. We appreciate you guys. Your stories, your journeys do not go unnoticed. Please continue to be, again, phenomenal women. We at the Blank Project appreciate you, and we wish to do more with you guys in the future. So without further ado, stay safe, stay blessed, and keep wearing your mask, guys. Still COVID out there.
All right,
Thank you, guys. It was wonderful. Nice meeting everybody that I have not met before, and good to see those who I have known before.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye, everyone. Have a good evening. Bye.